So we have breaking news. United States Senator Alex Padilla out of California disrupted a press conference with Secretary Kristi Noem, was forced out, detained, and then ultimately released. Now, I'm going to walk you through what both sides are saying. I'm going to show you all the clips and then give you the bottom line.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted.
Okay, so that was the senator from California, Alex Padilla, thinking it was a great idea to try to interrupt Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem's press conference today, where she was covering the facts about the individuals that were arrested in Los Angeles, why they were arrested, and once again presenting the facts that Democrats don't care about. And so he made a fool of himself. Now, let me show you exactly what she was saying right before he was kicked out. Take a listen.
We are staying here to liberate this city from the socialist and the burdensome leadership that this governor and that this mayor have placed on this country and what they have tried to insert into this city. So I want to say thank you to every single person that has been able to do this. Also, I want to talk specifically to the rioters and to the politicians in Los Angeles.
The matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your
I also want to talk about specifically how many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted, and how their families have been put in jeopardy, and that we're not going to allow that anymore as well, that those individuals who are purposely endangering our ICE agents and our law enforcement officers and their families will be prosecuted for what they are doing as far as perpetuating violence on them.
All right, so as you guys seen there, he was already disrupting the press conference. In fact, he forced his way in. He was not allowed to be there. The other fact here is that he was detained in the end. I'm going to show you a clip of that as well. Also, Democrats are already going to try to use this to score political points, which is why you see on the screen right now, ground news. We love using this tool because it shows us what both sides are saying. We could do our own research and come up with our own conclusions. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. So if you guys want to follow along, just go to ground.news/Devori. So already you see the headline: Democrat Senator Alex Padilla forcibly removed from Secretary Kristi Noem's press conference. Okay, let's take a look at him getting detained.
On the ground. Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands go, I stand behind my back.
All right. Cool. Other hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording loud out here.
I did not.
Okay, so clearly it's dramatic, political theater. Democrats will use this to amp up their base. And media outlets will run with this in order to fit their narrative. And that is why we're using ground news. And if you guys want to follow along, once again, ground.news/Devori. Let's just take a look at what NBC News is already saying. The senator forcibly removed from DHS Secretary's press conference. Why? Well, in Los Angeles on Thursday, after trying to question the Homeland Security Secretary, he was removed. Wait a minute. I thought he forced his way in. He was not invited. He had no business being there. Then he puts his hand on law enforcement officials, and then he was detained. But they leave out these details. Why? Because they have a narrative to push, which is why I encourage you to do your own research every single time. Don't take my word for it. Think for yourself. The way you could do that is use a tool like Ground News. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to do is go to ground.news/Devori, or you could download the mobile app. Just use promo code Devori, and it's going to give you access to everything that I showed you in this video, including 40% off the Vantage plan.
Obviously, we don't have full information about the altercation that led him to be pushed out of the room by personnel either from the Department of Homeland Security or the FBI. But this is yet another escalation between the Department of Homeland Security and those agents working at their disposal and lawmakers. Obviously, LaMonica McIver, a congresswoman from New Jersey, has now been indicted on 3 federal charges for which she could face up to 18 years in prison. person in an altercation that started not dissimilarly from this. You know, one of the things I was looking for is whether or not Senator Padilla himself put his hands back on those who were involved in that altercation with him, as LaMonica McIver is alleged to have done. And you can see from the video you're showing right now somewhat that Senator Padilla is pushing back or has his hands on the officer. From the video that I have seen, it's much clearer. At some point, he then stops resisting, puts his hands up, and nonetheless, they push him down the hallway, put him face down, his hands behind his back. He's arrested. I don't know yet what has going to come of this and where Senator Padilla has been taken. But this is a big escalation of what has been happening in California.
Yeah. So if you guys want the bottom line to what's taking place at this moment, number one, Democrats will use this clip to continue to make their case against the president. That's as simple as I can make it. They'll also use it to score political points with their base. However, when it comes to the right, and particularly conservatives who are really all about law and order, this is about reminding people that you are not allowed to put your hands on law enforcement officials. When they give you an order, you must comply. I don't know what happened in our society where people think the first response to when you encounter a law enforcement official, I don't care if you are a judge or you're a senator or you're a teacher or you're a teenager, or your skin color is black or it's pink. When you encounter a law enforcement officer, you must comply. If you want to fight them, you know where you do that? You do it in the courts. Okay, now allow me to show you the next clip here. Here's a congresswoman on the ground, Democrat, already trying to capitalize on what happened. Take a look.
Call it what it is, a disgraceful abuse of power. Senator Padilla was handcuffed and dragged out of for daring to ask a question. This wasn't a threat, it's dissent, and they crushed it with force. They're not keeping us safe, they're trying to silence us. We won't back down.
It's so interesting how politicians make it so obvious when they're reading from a script. I mean, the worst thing Democrats do is they're just not authentic. You know, when something like this takes place, just give me your initial take, okay? Raw and uncut. Be a real person. But that's my own personal opinion here about her take. And of course, it's unhinged, we know. However, the senator was released, did not go to jail, and he spoke moments after being released right outside the building. Take a look.
I came to the press conference to hear what she had to say, to see if I could learn any new additional information. And at one point, I had a question. And let me emphasize, just as we've emphasized the right for people to peacefully protest and to stand up for their First Amendment rights, for our fundamental rights. I was there peacefully. At one point, I had a question. And so I began to ask a question. I was almost immediately forcibly removed from the room. I was forced to the ground, and I was handcuffed. I was not arrested. I was not detained.
He should probably be an actor at this point because he sounds like he's on the verge of tears. And he's really soaking in this moment. Let's just be honest, right? This is politics, ladies and gentlemen. There's a game always being played. And sometimes politics does not really align with policy, and it definitely does not align with common sense. So it's not a stretch to say that this, for him, he loves this. Okay, this is great for the base. But once again, it's a distraction that does not get a return on investment when you're talking policy and really moving the needle for Democrats. That's just the way that I see it. Now, again, I told you this is politics. So what did the secretary do? She's on Fox News herself as well, saying this. Take a look.
You know, what I would say is we were conducting a press conference to update everyone on the enforcement actions that are ongoing to bring peace to the city of Los Angeles. And this man burst into the room, started lunging towards the podium, interrupting me and elevating his voice, and was stopped, did not identify himself, and was removed from the room. So as soon as he identified himself, appropriate actions were taken. But I would say that, I had a conversation with the senator after this. We sat down for 10 to 15 minutes and talked about the fact that nobody knew who he was. He didn't say who he was, that until he was already had been lunging forward and people were trying to detain him for quite a period of time. And that this, we're leaders, we're public servants. And if he had requested a meeting, I would have loved to have sat down and had a conversation with him. That coming into a press conference like this is political theater. It's wrong, and it does a disservice to this country and the people who live here. So we sat down, had a conversation. We probably disagree on 90% of the topics, but we agreed to exchange phone numbers. We'll continue to talk and share information, and I think that's the way it should be in this country. I wish he would have acted that way in the beginning instead of creating a scene like this.
Okay, so that's what she had to say about all this. And I told you guys already, politics, policy, common sense, they don't always align, especially when people are addicted to the political theater. Now, she said in her statement there that he lunged at her. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was the person in charge and someone lunged at me, they wouldn't be given a statement outside. They'd be in the county jail getting booked. But that's just me. And then she has a conversation with them for 5 to 10 minutes afterwards. So which one is it exactly, Madam Secretary?
You're saying that nobody knew who he was, and if they did, he would have been treated differently. And you just heard his comment. He said, if this is the way they treat a U.S. senator, you can only imagine how others are being treated in these deportation efforts. What would you say to that, Secretary?
Yeah, I think his statement is absolutely ridiculous. This man burst into a room, started advancing towards the podium, interrupting an opening statement, elevating his voice, shouting questions. People tried to stop him from interrupting the press conference. He refused and continued to lunge towards the podium, and that is when he was removed from the room. So the way that he acted was completely inappropriate. It wasn't becoming a U.S. senator or a public official, and perhaps he wanted the scene, and that's what he wanted, but I think the American people are sick of this kind of action. I think the American people are tired of this. They just want the truth, and they just want to know what's happening, and that's what we were trying to provide.
Okay, so I'm not raging against Kristi Noem here, for the record. I think she's 100x better than Mayorkas. But guys, this is political theater. This is a reality TV show with these people. I mean, she wasted no time to go on Fox News and react to what happened there. And if you're looking at Martha's facial expressions, she can't even believe what's coming out of Kristi Noem's mouth. I just think it's all funny to me, okay? Hopefully you guys see it the same way. Okay, so if you really want to laugh, watch these reactions from Democrats, starting with Senator Schumer.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I just saw something that sickened my stomach. The manhandling of a United States senator. We need immediate answers to what the hell went on. I yield the floor.
Gentleman from California, seek recognition.
For parliamentary inquiry. As a combat veteran, I want to know what this House is going to do, but because a senior senator was attacked, illegally attacked, and drugged to the ground. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House now be adjourned.
Unanimous consent request into the record a NBC article. Senator Alex Padilla removed from news conference with Homeland Security Secretary Noem.
All right, without objection to order.
I have another one, the Hill article. Padilla forcibly removed from Noem press conference.
Without objection to order.
And I have a third one, Axios Democratic Senator forcibly removed from DHS press conference.
Without objection to order.
Mr. Chair, also, we were just talking about this. I want to know if you can commit to working with us so we can subpoena.
You're out of order. Chair recognizes
I have
Ms.
a point.
Green
I have a point of order.
No.
I have a point of order.
State your point.
We need to subpoena.
That's not
Secretary
a point of order.
Noem.
Chair recognizes
We
Ms.
just talked
Green.
about this
That's
earlier.
not a point.
We talked
Thank you,
about
Mr. Chairman. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
To the ground.
Reclaiming my time.
And handcuffed in his own damn
Oh,
state.
Democrats can't follow the rules. Can't follow the law. Can't follow the rules. Can't follow the law.
We need to subpoena Kristi Noem.
Okay, so no shocker there. Hopefully that gave you a laugh. Guys, I don't intend to make this a joke or it's funny. I think a lot of this is an embarrassment to our country. But let's just be real here. At some point, this is entertaining. I mean, these guys, they can't help themselves. It's always got to be some type of political statement or theater for them. And you just saw that in those previous clips. Now, let's circle back on that press conference where Kristi Noem announced 2 big, huge updates. One starting with the IRS. Take a listen.
With their leadership, and we also have the IRS here that's helping us track how these violent protesters are funded, what NGOs out there, what unions, what other individuals may be funding these violent perpetuators that are in these protests that take people who may be wanting to come and be peaceful, but instead turn these into very violent activities that go after law enforcement. That's just simply not acceptable.
Now, while she was doing that press conference in regards to the IRS, the commissioner who was nominated has been confirmed, Billy Long. So it's interesting that she's deploying the IRS to find out who's funding these protests that have been turning violent. And I think that's a smart move on their behalf. I'm talking about the Trump administration, because we know it's not going to stop. I mean, these people are supplied. In some cases, they're armed. They're very organized. They have flyers with key pieces of information. I mean, these people know what they're doing, and they're paid to do it. That's the thing that is so mind-blowing for me. I mean, that answers the question. Like, you think, don't these people have a job? Don't they have something better to do? Not when they're getting paid to be there. So I'm glad that she's deploying the IRS. Now, she also made this announcement about the people they arrested in Los Angeles. Take a look.
The images that we've seen out of Los Angeles the last several days has simply been un-American by the protesters and the violence that we've seen perpetuated. Masked thugs are assaulting police officers. They're setting vehicles on fire. They're waving foreign flags on American soil while burning American flags. And they've damaged public property and destroyed private businesses. We need to make sure that we are continuing to protect the citizens that live here and want this community to be safe. Let me give you just a few examples of those who have been rioting that many politicians like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass are defending. There was a Vietnamese illegal alien who committed a mass shooting at a graduation party in 1994 that we've been able to take off the streets. A Filipino illegal alien that was convicted of an assault with intent to commit rape that we've been able to bring up into custody and incarceration. You see behind you some more profiles of individuals that have brought into custody through the operations we have here. A Mexican illegal alien convicted of willfully cruelty to a child, and on and on and on. Those individuals and those criminals are now off the streets of Los Angeles because of the activities that have been conducted here in the last several days and will continue to operate for days to come.
All right. So that's the press conference, and that is the ridiculous story from earlier today where a United States senator couldn't help himself, barged his way into a closed press conference, as I understand it, was not invited, did not tell people who he was, and he was forcibly removed, as they're putting it, and he was ultimately detained, then released. Now, I told you guys this is going to help Democrats push their narrative, and for Republicans, they think this is the appropriate response because it's about law and order. But in the end, you know what happens? This entire story becomes a huge distraction from what's more important, like the people they arrested in Los Angeles that led to the ridiculous riots. It's good that they're arresting criminal illegal aliens, right? I think that's a great thing. Secondly, the fact that we're finally deporting people out of this country. Here's another thing. Why are people not respecting law enforcement? I just think that is heartbreaking, because every time someone chooses to resist, it never ends well for them. So why don't you give me your reaction in the comment section below? Do you believe the senator was wrong in the way that he entered the press conference? Do you believe law enforcement and how they responded? Were they right or were they wrong on how they handled a United States senator? And then give me your reaction to, I guess, what they had to say on Fox News immediately after in this whole political theater situation. Just give me all your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, yesterday, President Trump celebrated a huge economic win, proving that economists are wrong. 4th month in a row, by the way. And of course, Elon Musk made waves when he apologized to the president on social media. If you missed out on both those stories, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.